Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a deep dive into one of the biggest mysteries out there. How do we actually learn? How does something go from being a totally new, maybe confusing idea to a skill we can do without even thinking about it? I mean, think about it. This is a massive question, and it's everywhere in our lives. From a little kid figuring out how to tie their shoes, to a student finally getting their head around a tough math problem, or even you trying to pick up a new language. How does that transformation actually happen inside our brains? Well, to get to the bottom of this, we're going to follow the story of psychology itself. We're going to look at three huge theories that have really shaped how we think about learning over the past 100 years or so. And what's cool is that each one kind of builds on and sometimes argues with the one that came before it. Now, believe it or not, our story doesn't start with what's in the mind at all. Nope, it starts with the stuff we can actually see and measure, our actions. This is the world of behaviorism, where learning was seen as, well, just a change in behavior. You see, these early psychologists had a pretty straightforward approach. They looked at the mind and basically treated it like a black box. They said, look, we can't see what's going on in there, so let's just not worry about it for now. Instead, they focused only on the input, a stimulus from the outside world, and the output, the behavior that came out of it. So, for a behaviorist, learning isn't some deep, mysterious mental event. It's way simpler. It's just a change in how you act, a change that's directly caused by your environment through a process they called conditioning. And the classic textbook example of this is Ivan Pavlov and his dogs. Okay, so here's how it worked. A dog, naturally, is going to drool when it sees food. That's a given. But Pavlov started ringing a bell right before he brought out the food. He did this over and over, and pretty soon, the dog learned to connect the bell with the food. Eventually, just the sound of the bell, no food in sight, was enough to make the dog start drooling. A new behavior was learned, all through this simple association. And guys like B.F. Skinner took this idea and just ran with it. He argued that things like thoughts and feelings were kind of unscientific and just got in the way. For him, the only thing that really mattered was how our environment shapes what we do through rewards and punishments. That's it. But that, of course, is the giant question that behaviorism just couldn't really answer. I mean, we all know we have thoughts, right? We remember things, we figure stuff out. Ignoring that black box started to feel like you were ignoring the most important part of the whole story. And that feeling, well, it led to a massive revolution in psychology. So this brings us to the next chapter. With the rise of computers, a light bulb went off for a lot of psychologists. They decided it was finally time to crack open that black box. And this was the start of what we call the cognitive revolution. A whole new wave of thinkers came along and said, hey, you can't possibly get the full picture of learning if you ignore all the mental stuff that happens between the stimulus and the response. It was time to look inside. And this gave us a powerful new metaphor. If the behaviorists saw the mind as a black box, these cognitivists saw it as a really sophisticated computer. Learning, from this point of view, is basically just a form of information processing. With this new way of thinking, the whole focus of psychology just shifted dramatically. Researchers started digging into all these complex things like memory, attention, language, and how we solve problems. The big questions became, how do we actually store and pull up memories? How does our attention even work? How do we use language to think things through? But wait, the story doesn't end there. It turns out, seeing the mind as just a computer that passively processes data, well, that wasn't the whole story either. The next big theory saw us, the learners, as something much more active and honestly, more creative. And this brings us to our next amazing metaphor, the mind as a construction site. Get this, the idea here is that we're not just downloading information like a file. We are actively building our own understanding of the world, brick by brick. So what this theory is really saying is that we are the architects of what we know. We don't just soak up facts like a sponge. We take new information and we twist it and connect it to everything we already know to build our own unique model of reality that's based on our own experiences. You can really see the difference here. On the left, you've got the computer mind from cognitivism. It just absorbs and processes data. But look at the right. The builder mind of constructivism is way more dynamic. It takes that new info and actively hooks it onto what's already there to build something totally new and personal. Okay, so we've been on this incredible journey, from reactions to processors to builders. And now we have to ask the big question, which one is right? Which theory really truly explains how we learn? Well, here's the best part. The most useful way to think about this is that they're not really competing at all. It's much better to think of them as different tools, all in the same toolkit. And each tool is useful for understanding a different kind of learning. And this table really sums up our entire journey, doesn't it? We went from the simple black box of behaviorism to the computer metaphor of cognitivism, and we landed at the construction site of constructivism. Each one gives us a really valuable way to look at how we learn. So why does any of this matter to you? Well, because understanding this toolkit can make you a way better learner. It helps you see when you just need to build a habit through repetition, that's behaviorism for you, versus when you need to really organize some complex information, that's cognitivism, or when you need to connect a new idea to your own life to truly get it, and that's pure constructivism. So, as you go about your day, think about this toolkit. The next time you try to learn something new or maybe teach something to someone else, ask yourself, am I trying to build a habit here? Am I processing information? Or am I trying to construct a whole new understanding? Picking the right tool for the job might just change everything.